Everybody, hello. I hope we enjoyed that amazing session. Thank you very much to all of our guest speakers. Thank you. We've learned a lot from you, and to the moderator, Zainab Lawal. Thank you so much. And once again, this is NISIG Annual Summit 2020. And up next is the legal session. And it's going to start at about 3:05 p.m. until 4 p.m. There's a lot we need to learn from this session as regards law, so that we know what to do, when to do what, and maybe some of your questions that weren't answered in the previous sessions that had to do with law things, for example, insurance. Some things are just, intertwined, and maybe you could get answers in this session, or maybe you need clarification, you need to get a lawyer, why nobody should bully you, stuff like this, right? You're going to get answers to your question in this coming session. And once again, this session is being streamed on YouTube, and it is also being recorded. So you need to know, in case you want to remain anonymous or something like this. It's very important that you know that it is being recorded. We have other sessions to go. Up next is the legal session.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm here to welcome you to the Nigerian Scholars in Germany Annual Conference Summit 2020. This is the session on legal awareness and legal advice for migrants in Germany. My name is Chuka Ikele, and I'll be your moderator for this session. This session aims to speak about the different challenges that students as well as immigrants in Germany from a Nigerian African background face here. And we have an interesting speaker who is here to talk to us on some of these subjects, and I'll be introducing him shortly. His name is Mr. Iyare Imasi. He's a qualified lawyer, a senior lawyer from Nigeria who has been practicing and working here in Germany for a while. He has extensive experience advising on so many complex issues which people face here, or Nigerians as well as Africans face here. And I'll just like to invite him to also give a brief overview as well as background on his experience, what he does, and also tell us in brief or in short what we expect to hear from him today. Mr. Imasi.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for inviting me to the program. First of all, I want to introduce myself for most of you guys that don't know about me. My name is Iyare Imasi. I'm from Edo State, and I was born and brought up in Nigeria. And I came here at the age of 24 after my first degree in Nigeria in accountancy and a little bit in computer science. And after some years here, I studied German laws here in Kiel, where I'm living presently. And here I have a chamber. I'm sitting now in my office, and I actually have a chamber in Hamburg. So the certificate that the German authority gave to me allows me to go to every court in this country, and even as far as going to the European countries, countries that are equally involved in the European Union, I can even appear in such courts based on the fact that I can speak their language. If I don't understand, I can look for a translator. And I have been practicing law for the past 11 years. And when you are here in this country and you are an academician, you finally realize that what we were told when the British people came to Nigeria, that if you go to school, you work hard, you make a good result, you have a better life, it is here I finally experienced it. As an academician, you always have a better life in the country. In this country, one is paid if you only attended a primary school, which is not possible because everybody goes to primary school and everybody goes to secondary school in this country. For the university is reserved for the few brilliant ones. So you are paid according to your qualification here. If you have a primary school qualification, you are paid according to primary school, secondary school as well, and university as well. So the people that earns the highest money here as an academician are the professors because they go longer to academical background. So not like in our country where the agberos are any better money than a doctor and than a lawyer. So we have a lot to do there, a lot to change. So, and then my experience as a lawyer in this country has been very impressive. I've never had a negative experience. Anywhere I go to, any court I appear in, it is always admiration. People admire me. They wonder how come about I was not born here. I was able to learn the language and even pass law because many of their people too, they don't pass the law exams. And as at the time I was at the university, the failing quote was 60%. They make sure that every year 60% will be failed because they want to keep the statistics and continue. So it was very, very tough. And as I said, I've never experienced anything negative because when they hear you are a lawyer, people come close, they want to learn from you. Unlike where we are coming from, I will keep saying it. Anywhere you are, they hear you are an academician. Even you guys that are students must have experienced it. People admire you a lot because they know what it means to go to university. It's not everybody that was able to go there. And to be precise, for most of you guys that don't know about it, from the primary school to the university here is free of charge. You don't pay anything. You don't pay school fees, apart from the semester ticket and some other small money that you pay to get education here. Because Germans say every time, the best resources and the most important resources that every human being has is the brain. The brain that we have here is the best resources of every human being on earth. The other resources, about oil or some other gold or some other things, they are not so important in a human life. So what is important is the brain that God has given to us. If you use the brain properly in a country where the brain is allowed to be used, then you will excel and have a better life. So as a lawyer, as I said, it has always been positive. I don't think there will be any reason behind it for somebody to start showing me another way of life because we in this country, a lawyer, a state lawyer, a judge, they are all the same. Every lawyer has the qualification to be a judge, so I can equally be a judge tomorrow. So that is the difference in countries like UK and maybe the Commonwealth countries. So racial profiling, about racial problems, I personally, because based on my background, from where I'm coming from Nigeria, and to compare with what I have experienced here, I would say I have never experienced racial problems because my background in Nigeria, I'm from a very poor family and from a very small village, and the segregation there, it cannot be compared to what we are going through here. Where I only find racism in this country, if there's anything that one would call racism, is when you want to learn a job, you're not given the opportunity. When you write examination, they fail you because you are Black. When you, those are the two major places where I will say there's racism, which I have not really heard about anybody telling me such a thing. They can only fail you in this country, in the university, if you're not good. If you are good, they will pass you. And when it happens in any form that you are failed in your courses because you have the feeling that you are failed because you are you are Black or you are an African, you have the opportunity within 4 weeks to take appeal. And when you take appeal, you will be informed too that you have the right to take appeal. And even if you are not informed, you are hearing it now from me, it is, you have the right to take appeal. And when you take appeal, your papers will be taken to neutral people that doesn't know you at all. That has nothing to do with you at all. That has nothing to do with the university. That has nothing to do with the technician or the Fachhochschule. Your papers will be corrected again. And then, latest then, if you are good, they will pass you. They don't have any reason to pass you, to fail you. They want people here to work and help them pay tax and continue to make the country great. And because of the demographic problem that we are having here, a lot of the Oyibos here, they don't make children. Foreigners are the ones making the children here now. And these children, they are growing up here. They wanted to remain here and learn something good and help the country to grow. Of course, the so-called racial profiling, that one is going on. Although it is prohibited by the law, it is being practiced. It has happened to me too several times on 3 consecutive occasions. I was on the highway with my car going to the court in this my area. So police officers that were in mufti, as we always say in Nigeria, they were not in their normal uniform and not in their normal car. They overtook me 1 or 2 times, and later they rode behind police. So I should follow them to, we call it a Rasplas, somewhere on the roadside. I don't know what it's called in English, where you can park, you can go to the toilet, you can go to the restaurant and maybe buy petrol, those kind of things. So they asked me for my particulars. I asked the guy, was I driving too fast? No. So what is he reading behind me? He said, a normal police control. Of course, based on our law here, they can control you without not suspecting you. It's called Verdacht unabhängige Kontrolle. So the police is allowed to do that. So there were 4 guys that one came close to my door, to my window. The other ones were standing around. One was going around the car. So after the particulars and everything, the guy told me, what do I do for a living? I said, why? Why are you asking? He said, because I'm riding a nice car, a Mercedes-Benz. So I then showed him my lawyer's ID card. Oh, he said he's sorry that he never knew. I said, but you are just doing your job. So they are waiting for me in the court. I'm going. So it has happened about 3 times. So academicians are highly respected here. Of course, if you behave properly, these things, when you are controlled, there's no reason to start shouting, they are racist, they are, what do you call, they are Hitler and this and that. If you have your papers in your pocket, you bring it out and show them. We are few in this country, and our color shows that we are foreigners. And it's going to take many, many years before this being exceptional case will now become a normal case, that they see foreigners, Black people around, and they know they are one of them, they are Germans. So, and then, yeah, this racial profiling, it has happened to many people too, one way or the other, that they are sitting in the bus, that the police comes in, I only control the Black guy, and maybe you are with your friends on the road, you are stopped alone, they don't control the other people, they control you. So now they are working on it and trying to, even in Berlin, a law has been passed there that they are not allowed to control foreigners because they look different. If they want to control them, they have to control everybody around them. And if they want to control a foreigner in the train in Berlin, they have to control the whole train section, not only just one person standing there because it looks foreign. So, and if they do that, they should be able to explain why is it that it is only this foreigner sitting down there control. So if they can't explain that, the law has fixed now a certain amount of money that they will be charged for violating human rights. It's all about human rights. It's all about human rights. So, gentlemen, that is all I can say based on the introduction, experiment, and racial profiling. So I now hand over the issue to Mr. Ikele. Ikele?
Thank you, Mr. Emasi. I'm sure all of our attendees who have lots of questions to ask. So I'll just start with the questions, and then if you have questions, you just write them on the Q&A section of your page, and then I will get to it. But hopefully we'll run through the questions, and if you're not able to get to your question, we'll just find a way to respond to it in due course. So the first question I would say I have for you is, because there are lots of people here are students, they come in here, and the first need that students have is an accommodation, a place, a roof over their heads. And over time, we've seen that people have lots of issues with this. So from a legal perspective, are you able to speak to, the acceptable forms of payment of rent, the acceptable forms of contract that you should have in place? And then also when there are like disputes between either a landlord or a tenant and a tenant and a tenant, are they like documents, or are you allowed to make an audio recording, a video recording, something that you're able to show to someone else, a third party, in case there's any disputes? Because so many times I'm sure so many students and people of Nigerian descent here have had issues like that, which would be good to clarify it from a legal perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, if you are here as a student, you're from Nigeria, you're now coming to Germany as a student, normally the ASTA, we call them ASTA, people that are in charge of students' welfare, they should be able to give you a dormitory. If there's no hostel, they couldn't give you a hostel, then you can equally collaborate with some other people living in a Wohngemeinschaft. Mostly it is a sort of an apartment, maybe 3 rooms where everybody has a room for himself, and they share rent together. And there are always either one of them has rented the apartment alone in his own name, or maybe 2 people join together to rent the apartment, or 3. Even the 3 people can sign the contract together. So, and such issues have always been a problem in the country when, for instance, A, B, and C rent an apartment together, they sign a contract together, and all of a sudden, because C feels that he is no longer comfortable with the other people with A and B in the apartment, and decide to quit the apartment, he can only quit if A and B allows him to quit, or else if he quits out of annoyance, he has to continue to pay the rent for his room, or he's able to find a substitute, find somebody else who wants to take over the room in that apartment. And sometimes too, A and B has to agree that they like the third person that he brought now to take over the room. So the issue of recording, it is accepted because in the first place, whoever is doing recording, not on the phone it is not accepted, because somebody on the phone is far away from you. You can't see him. You are not having communication direct from face to face. Because of that, when you do such recording with your answering machine, it is not accepted in the court. But if you are standing with somebody and you are having a discussion, you can record the discussion, because this discussion that you are having is recorded as your own speech. Your own speech. You are making your speech with somebody. You are discussing with somebody. So that one is accepted in the court of law. So I repeat once more, if A is in Hamburg, is calling B in Stuttgart, and record the conversation on his phone in Hamburg, that is not going to work. So that is not allowed. So face-to-face discussion can be recorded, even if your opposite person does not know that you are recording it. It is about your own discussion. You are your own speech. So it is allowed in the court. So some other things that has to do with tenancy, there's what we call Untermietvertrag. We have the main tenant and under tenant, maybe a subtenant. I don't know what you call it in English. We call it Untermietvertrag, somebody who is under the main tenant. Now you have the landlord, you have the tenant, and you have somebody squatting under the tenant. Between the tenant and who is squatting, there's always a contract too. that has to be written. Don't make a contract orally. An oral contract is not valid in Germany. It has to be in a written form. And if it's written down, it has to, of course, specify how much you are going to be paying in a month. And this money you pay in a month should cover light, water, and maybe those being expenses. So it has to be specified that it is warm. We call it warm contract. VAM, you say VAM, paid warm, so, and so. So, and the tenant himself, if you are squatting under a tenant, he has to give you a letterbox key. First of all, key to the apartment and a key to the letterbox. He has to put your name on the letterbox. If you refuse to put your name on the letterbox and he did not give you a key to the letterbox, then you have the right to refuse to pay. You can even minimize, you can pay, of course, and minimize and reduce the amount of payment until when he gives you a key. So these things have to be given to you, key to the main apartment, or maybe there's a main door from outside too, that you before you enter the apartment, which means at least 2 keys has to be given to whoever is squatting under somebody in this country. Squatting officially, not squatting in secret. It has to be officially signed, and you have to be registered in Einwohnermeldeamt, these rat houses where everybody in this country is obliged to be registered so that the Foreign Office and the police and the government knows how many people are here in that house, how many people are there in this country, how many people are going in and going out. So, and then we have keys too that are equally master keys. This master keys is only one. With that one key, you can enter the main door and enter into your own apartment, and equally enter into a keller. If there's a keller, there should be a keller. Many houses have keller here underground where you can put your bicycle or put some other things that you don't need in the apartment upstairs. Yeah, Mr.
Thank you. Still on this point, I just have two more questions on this before we be able to move on to something else. So the first point is on the issue of the deposit. So many people pay that, either the caution, it's called the caution fee or the deposit. So some persons pay this, and when they move out, at some point, it takes, some landlords refuse to pay this for as long as 3 months, some 6 months, some even spread over a year. And sometimes when they end up paying this fees, there are so many subtractions from this money that you're not able to identify with. And that's the first question. So, like, what is the legal perspective as far as German law is concerned? What's the legal take on that one? And then the second point here, it's from an anonymous attendee here who is asking for the legal implication of declining to pay for an apartment contract you signed, but you were not able to move in due to the pandemic. So these are the questions we take as far as this accommodation topic before we move on to something else. Thank you.
Yeah, so the issue of caution is mostly, it depends on who, it depends on the landlord, of course, or it depends on the tenant. Most of the time it can be 2 months meter, 2 months tenant fee, or 3 months tenant fee. And when you pay this money, whoever you pay this money to, according to our law, is supposed to open a savings account and put the money into the savings account so that this savings account will generate interest for you, so that the day you want the money back, it has to be paid back with interest. So the issue of leaving the apartment, terminating the apartment, the termination time is always 3 months. There are sometimes the landlord can even tell you, okay, I agree that you go within 1 month or within some weeks. When the apartment is terminated, there's what we call Übergabe protocol. Now, the apartment has to be left the same way it was when you enter into the apartment, if you are living. So that is why it's very, very advisable when you are going new into an apartment, make pictures of the walls and how the apartment looks like and document them, put them into documentary. So that when you are going again, you are leaving the apartment again, you should be able to leave the apartment the way it was when you entered. So, and then this Ibargabe protocol is the house master, the one that does it. The day you are leaving finally, somebody will come and try to document everything that looks okay and does not look okay in the apartment as at the time you are leaving. And you will sign, the house master will sign too, and you will get a copy. So let's assume everything is okay, the way it is supposed to be. Then the landlord does not have the right to keep your caution that you paid. He has to release the caution as quickly as possible. When the Ibargabe protocol, the protocol with which you handed over the apartment, it is okay. But if it is not okay, that is when they start making trouble. They start telling you that the wall here has stain, the wall there has stain, the ground is not so good. So from the money that you paid before, we are going to use it to get this thing done the way it is supposed to be. So, but if you had proof and when you were entering the apartment, that was how it looks like, then they don't have the right to do such a thing. So that is where this problem comes about. So if they don't pay within a short time, at least maximum of 3 months, that money should be paid. If it is not paid and you are sure that you did everything according to what I've just explained now, you can take them to a lawyer and the lawyer will help you to write to court. And then when they hear, of course, you are going to a lawyer or you have written, a lawyer is going to write to them, they will pay as quickly as possible because we lawyers, we are not only friendly, but we cost money. And when it comes to money, the Germans say with money, the friendship ends. So that one, they don't joke with it. So the other issue, I've forgotten the question again. Can you repeat it, Mr. Ikele, please?
All right. Yes, I can. So the question is the legal implication of declining to pay for an apartment contract that you signed, but you were not able to move into due to the pandemic, and the landlord is currently demanding that you make full payment.
Yeah, good. Whether you couldn't move in because of the pandemic, that one I cannot really say why, but if one has to be very careful, whoever is throwing that question, because I don't know how the pandemic can affect somebody without so that he cannot move into the apartment. Was he having corona or what was he having? So if you sign a contract, a landlord, sign a contract with a landlord, and the keys are given to you, and the time is fixed when you're supposed to start using the apartment, you did not go in. That is not the problem of the landlord. You continue to pay your normal rent. So the rent has to be paid until you decide again to make a termination of the contract, which it always has a 3-month time limit. And within these 3 months too, you will still be paying for your rent. And if you want to terminate the contract, it can only be terminated in a written form and not orally. Renting contract cannot be terminated orally. It has to be written. And not only that, the terminated contract paper must reach the landlord before on the 1st of every month, on the 1st of the beginning of the month that you want to terminate the contract. So in such cases, it is very important that you do it in a way that you make it a registered letter. If you cannot meet the landlord yourself, even if you meet the landlord yourself, you should go with a witness. And if you are going with a witness, you should open the letter for whoever is witnessing, following you as a witness to read and see what is inside. And then you envelope it again and hand the letter over to the landlord together with him, so that later the landlord cannot say he never got the letter, because it can always be that he can say later that yes, he got an envelope from you, but what was in the letter was not the termination of the renting contract. So in our court here, a lot of very funny things have happened several times. So if you have a witness that is with you, he can testify later that he read the letter, and he can tell the court exactly what was written in this letter. Mr. Ekele?
Thank you, Mr. Amasi. We have so many of us here who are students, and so many of them also, some of us who are workers here. So many people here have entrepreneurship drive and want to do business. So besides that, you know, when you travel to Germany for the purposes of studying for a master's or a PhD or whatever, and then is it possible for you to be able, so this question is going to be on two sides, two axes. So is it possible for you to be able to do business as an entrepreneur aside from your studies here? That's the first one. And then when you become a worker, so you become a full-time worker, you get a worker visa, it might be a blue card or just a usual residence permit. Are you allowed to, outside of this visa that you have, be able to do business? If you're allowed to do business, you know, what are the applicable or the allowed corporate forms? Is it a GmbH, like a limited liability company, or can it be in the form of the GBR, or, you know, what's the advisable step to take when it comes to issues or, you know, matters like this?
In terms of doing business with the student visa, paragraph 16 is not allowed. The paragraph 16 visa is for studies. Whoever wants to do business can only do it unofficially. Officially, it is not accepted. So if you, unless you are having a different kind of visa, maybe a normal resident permit or a marriage visa or a worker's visa. So, but as a student visa and you want to do business, it's not accepted. There's a special visa for people who want to do business. That one is equally written in our law, then, which means you have to jump away from being a student and start doing business, which in Germany here, it will not be issued. That visa will not be issued. And if you want to do business here, in the past, it was written in the law that you have to come with 500,000 euros to open a company here, and then you have to employ 5 people within the time you are doing your business, and then you'll be given a resident permit because of business, that you are doing business. So apart from that, it is not possible unless you want to start doing it black. If you want to do it black, a lot of risks are involved in it too. One day the finance office will get to know about it, that you are doing business, and then you will be asked to come and pay tax and more or less register your company again with them, and then it is illegal, and then you go into a lot of trouble. So there are always, of course, some other ways of doing business. You can equally arrange with somebody who has a resident permit in Germany, who has a German passport, who is living here genuinely. You can open a business with him, and he can employ you there as a worker. You know, so, but you own a business as a student, it is not allowed. Yeah, it's like,
Okay, thank you very much. Although this is a question which I think it's already given, but I do all the same. I think it's just important that we ask. So an attendee is asking about the radio tax. Is it legal? What are the implications if you refuse to pay? Are there consequences if you do not get if you don't get a letter? And, you know, what are the various issues that can arise from this?
If you don't get a letter from where?
From the radio tax authorities. So I think it's the ZDF, which usually sends letters to people when you move into a new apartment and you get this registered at the rat house of the city.
Yeah, everybody gets a letter one way or the other. The authorities here, they are not sleeping. So if you are doing business here, maybe, I don't know the kind of business he wants to do, because many of our people, they do export and import, and they take their things to the wharf and put them in the container and some other things, maybe online business, I don't know. But no matter how you are doing it, they have their ways of finding out these things. Even in the internet, they have software with which they can easily find out those things when things are going on there. Or maybe you get letters every time through the post office, and I don't know, or your account is having a lot of cash movement. So the banks are equally involved in it. They are obliged by the law to look into people's account when cash flow, we call it Bewegung, when the movement and the cash flow is really very wide, because normally as a student, you don't have much money. Anybody who is a student in this country, it is known that apart from the BAföG that the government gives them, the one that their parents are not able to give them money to buy food or rent their dormitories, they get BAföG. So this BAföG is about 800 euros in a month. From this money, they will pay their rent, and then some they pay their health insurance, and then they eat and some other things. So, but if every month money is moving in 500,000, 800, 2,000, 5,000, this and there, the bank will be very, very, we call it hellwach. They become very awake, and then they will find out why those things are going on. There are always possibilities for why, how those things can be detected. So that one, I don't know. I have nothing to do with the criminal forces. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question has to do with the intellectual property. So many students as well as workers who move to Germany are already used to the possibility of downloading music, songs, videos online. But over time, we've had people getting letters, huge fines from law firms because they downloaded some movie or some kind of music, videos or tracks. What are the guidelines? Can you shed more light on this? What we should stay away from, and just to protect ourselves from receiving any of these huge fines or letters from legal counsel?
Yeah, downloading music illegally online is against the law. Yeah, geistiges Eigentum. It's a sort of piraterie, piracy. So those things are not allowed in the country. So that is why if you download a film, you download a music, a song, or whatever that you download online, and they are asking you for your address, they are asking you for your date of birth, they are asking you for some other very sensitive information, which means it is payable. It's not something free. So if you want to download something free, you go to Google and write in Google free music download. Those ones you will find them where you can download music free. But if that is not the issue, which means it is a place where you have to pay. At the moment, even if you put your name or your date of birth or you don't put them, they get people now through a certain computer. The computer generates a certain series of number every time when you go into a certain place to download something. So they can trace it with that. The telecom will help them to trace it to which house or which address or to which computer that music was downloaded as at that time. And then you get letters from my colleagues, and they'll add in that letter a paper we'll call Unterlassungserklärung. They said you should sign it so that they will be sure that you will not repeat that thing again in the future. So when you sign it, it's good. You send it back to them. But most of the time, I always advise people that it should not be signed, because if you signed, which means you have admitted that you know about this thing and something like that was done before. So, but anytime you go into that website again and you want to download something, they are going to get you again. They have, as I said before, a software that they place online, and they are running this software from time to time, and they fish out these people. that are going online to download things. In Germany, it's a very serious offense. It's a civil case. They can charge you a hell of money. And we equally have some kind of tricks there. If you have young people in your houses that are underage, one may claim that it was done by an underage child in the house. And if that is the case, you are not obliged to pay, because children underage, they don't take responsibility for anything they do online in this country. It has to be monitored by their parents. But once you are more than 18 years of age, in such cases, you have to pay. So, and some people end up being carried to court, and the court will now finally find out how it was. There are cases too where you have VLAN, you people call it Wi-Fi, and you allow your friends to use them, and you should be able to testify, tell the court that you instructed them not to download things, not to do things implicating online. So if you are able to say that in the court, and the court believes you, it means you never knew about it, and anybody who has done it did it on his own risks, but it is not your duty to mention whoever did it. You have the possibility to say, so and so people were in my party, so time, I will had a get together, and I can't really say who did it. I don't know who did it. Yeah.
Thank you. Still on this topic, just to stretch it a bit further, we've received questions asking about like streaming services. So if you're streaming online, not through any of the registered ones, for example, Netflix or Spotify, but you're just streaming generally through some website on the internet, is that legal in Germany? And then also is the use of VPNs to be able to cloud your IP address. Is it legal? What's your take on this? Thank you.
Yeah, that one, to get your IP address, exactly, that is called IP. To get your IP address, it is acceptable by the law. In the first place, whoever is the opinion that his property was downloaded online unjustly, will first of all write to the court, and the court will now give the permission by asking telecom to please provide the information of whoever has this IP number. It is very, very legal. So such things always go on. It is not illegal to ask for it. So they always do it, and then the court will do what is called a Beschluss. So with the help of the telecom now, the company will now have the address of whoever that person was, and then the person will be contacted and be written and be warned. And then because they always go to lawyers too, the lawyers too will put their own expenses as expenses for the person involved to pay. That one is very genuine, so it is not illegal. But anything you do here in the internet is being guided by law. As I said, it is only on occasions where it is really written free download. If it's kostenlose download, kostenlose website, kostenlose download, if you go to such places, you download something there, it is really free, and nobody is going to write you a letter later. And there are a lot of things too you can equally find as equally free, because even there are a lot of pictures in the internet that are moving around, a lot of things going on that you can easily download free and maybe enlarge it and put it in your wall. So a lot of pictures there are being owned by people, and when you go and tamper with such things too, you get a letter very quickly in your letterbox. Yeah, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Before we move on to the social aspect of things, I have just one more question on the investment side. So we've received questions asking about the ability of a foreigner to be able to to engage in investments here. That's one. And then secondly, if it's possible for a student to be able to own property, I'm thinking, or I'm assuming that the attendee is asking if it's possible to be able to get mortgages to be able to own property here in Germany as a student and maybe also as a worker or a foreigner.
As a student, that is practically impossible. As a foreign student, it's not possible to owe a mortgage. No, I don't know what you mean by asking for loan. No, going to the bank to ask for loan and then buy a property.
I believe so. I believe that's the question, because it's out of this world for a student to be able to have that much capital to be able to acquire property.
Yeah, if you have capital from your home country, why not? If you have a capital from your home country and you want to buy a house here, it is equally allowed. But the problem is you'll be asked questions as a student. Where did you get this money? How come about you as a student, you have this money now, you want to buy a house here? In our law here, it is written every seller, people that are involved in selling cars or selling immobilian, we call it immobilian, houses, land, and all these things, they are not really obliged by the law, but it is written in the law that if somebody comes to buy something from you and he brings cash more than 15,000 euros, if you like, you can inform the finance office. If you don't like, you shouldn't inform the finance office. So, but if you don't inform the finance office and they get to know about it, then they will charge you some money. Yeah? And then you will pay what we call busket, which means you are encouraging black market. So, but I will advise people, anybody want to do such a thing, if he has a capital, you can go through a lawyer. You can go through a lawyer, get in contact with a lawyer, because we lawyers will have a business account. No matter the kind of money you push in from outside the country, the only thing is that it has to be proved. There should be documents showing where that money is coming from. So if one is able to prove that the money is very legal, for instance, if it's coming from Nigeria, it's transferred from there, here the lawyer can help who is ever involved to buy a house or maybe buy shares and invest in companies. But you as a student carrying so much cash with you moving around, you may end up being controlled by the police, and the money will be taken away from you. And if the money is taken away from you, you have to prove now, according to the law, that you got that money genuinely. You have to tell the law court where you got that money. If you cannot prove it, the money will be confiscated and be paid into the federal purse. And from the federal purse, it will be used for charity issues and help the homeless people. Yeah.
Thank you. So moving onto the social scene. So we have a question from someone asking if he says it's a nuptial agreement, but I would think it's a prenuptial agreement between couples, if it's possible or it's enforceable in Germany. And then on the flip side of things, I'll be asking about the general social interaction in Germany. So as young people, because we know most of the students here are young, so your daily interactions with people moving around, if you get encounters, maybe from people, hostile encounters from people which involves the police, like what are the first steps that you should take in that kind of scenario? Are you required to give any statement to the police? Are you required to call someone? What are the first things that should come to your mind just to be able to keep safe and make sure that you do not get into any situation whereby you are going to incur huge legal costs or you're going to get into trouble with the law?
Yeah. What does this guy mean by nuptial agreement? I don't understand it. What is the meaning of nuptial agreement?
I would think it's a prenuptial agreement whereby a couple decides that in the event of a divorce between them or separation.
Okay. Here we'll call it marriage contract.
Okay.
Yeah, it is called Ehevertrag, a marriage contract. Of course, any couple that intends to get married or after marriage, you can always write such a thing. You can always be prepared. I've done that a lot in my office here. You can always be prepared. And then there in such contracts, in case of divorce, what each other has accumulated the whole years in the marriage belongs to one. Now, also, the wife does not take anything from the husband, and the husband does not take anything from the wife. So what they have accumulated the whole year belongs to each other. Now, if for instance, if the man bought a refrigerator and the woman bought the bed, so in terms of separation, each person takes his own property. And, and if they are working as well, which is very important here, we call it renter. If you are working, you always pay money for your old age. So from your salary, that money is deducted from every month, from month to month. Anytime you earn your salary, is being kept for the old age later. So that one too will be cancelled in such a contract that if in case of divorce, the money that I pay remains with me and the money that my wife pay remains with my wife. And we have this maintenance money too. Now, he who earns more money or she who earns more money has to pay the other one. In case of divorce, if the wife is earning a better money, the wife has to pay the husband for some months, depending on how long the marriage lasted. So such things too can be cancelled in such marriage contracts. The right to pay for children cannot be cancelled, because if they made children in the marriage, they have to take care of the children both together. The man has to pay if the children is staying with the mother, with the woman. But if the children are staying equally with the husband, the wife too has to pay to the husband. So in case of the police, if the police is being controlled, if somebody is being controlled by the police for one reason or the other, there are a lot of reasons why a control can take place. So if somebody is stopped by the police, be calm, answer their questions, and then if there's anything that you feel is going to implicate you, you don't answer it. You tell them you want to consult your lawyer. Without the consent of the lawyer, that you will not answer. So, but as I said before, if it's just a normal control on the road that they never suspected you, they only just want to find out if you have a resident permit or the car that you are driving is written in your name. Those ones are just simple controls. One can always answer them. But when it gets to the extent that they want to start opening your boot, they have dogs with them, they want their dogs to smell your boot, smell your car if you have hashish or you have marijuana or you have cocaine or you have some other prohibited drugs in your car. Latest then you will tell them you want to call your lawyer. If you have such a thing in the car. If you don't have such a thing, there's no need to be panicking. So, and then there are cases too where they come to people's houses. If they come to your house, the police comes to your house early in the morning and they tell you they want to search your house, they must have a search warrant signed by a judge. If they don't have that search warrant, you shouldn't allow them into the apartment. If you don't have the search warrant, normally they will not even come to you unless they feel, they will call it Gefahr in Verzug. When they feel that if they don't go to you now immediately, you may hide evidence. In such cases, they are allowed to come to you and enter into your apartment with force, whether you like it or not, because there's a certain thing they are suspecting it is there with you, which they can get now. Because if they come to you and you have that thing with you in the house, and because they don't have a search warrant, they have to go back, then you have the chance not to go and hide what they were trying to come and find out in your house. In such cases, they will not go away, they will remain there and make sure they enter into the apartment. And later, a search warrant will be issued by a judge when the whole thing is already over. So, Mr. Ikele.
Thank you. due to the number of questions that we are receiving, apologies in advance, we will not be able to take everything because due to time, we're due to close this session at 4. So I'll just ask him 2 more questions. One will be still on the investment question, and the final one will be to the legal practitioners or lawyers who are students in Germany or working like myself, and the tips to getting qualified. So the question on the investment side is for someone doing a side business at home, like it's like a freelance, for example, catering or small time freelancing. Would there be any issues from a legal perspective if the money inflows into the personal accounts?
Yeah, in this country, normally, any business that you do anywhere has to be, what's it called? How will I put it in English? We call it Anzeige. It has to be reported to the finance office, whether it is at the back of the house, as Sophia always say, "Na for backyard we will talk that one." If it is at the back of the house or behind the house, or is being done, because I know about such things too. There are some of our women, they are very good in making jollof rice or fried rice. They do such things too. Germans call it under the hand. So they do it black and they get paid. So in the most cases, you can do it months or even years. The finance office will not know about it, but maybe they will be informed later. We have equally a place in Hamburg. It's called Hamburg Billstedt. Hamburg Billstedt is a place where many of our people, they load their containers. They move around and carry most of these fairly used things that Germans don't want anymore. They load them in their containers. The whole street is full of such things. They are loading them there. And we have Nigerian women too that prepare their okra soup, egusi soup, and akpu and pounded yam. They bring them there to sell. So many of them have been doing these things since many, many years, and they are not caught. The police does not come there, or finance office does not come there. So yeah, it depends. If you are not caught, good. But if you do it in a big way, like somebody is doing a marriage ceremony, or somebody is doing the baptism of his or her child, you cook a lot of coolers of rice and bring there, and all kinds of people from different nations are there. It can equally be that maybe one day you will be exposed. So it is nice to inform the finance office that you are doing such a business. And if you earn in a year 17,500 euros, you don't pay tax. So I don't see any reason why then they shouldn't be informed. If you inform them, it is good, then you are secured. You can do your business anyhow. You can transport your rice or anything you are transporting on the road. Even when the police stops you, they see those things, they will not have any grudges because it is registered. It is known by the finance office. So it has to be done, because we have equally had instances here where people brought dried fish from Africa, and they collected it from them in my city here or in Hamburg in the city. The police stopped them, and mostly it has to do with the buses that they have been taking. The bus drivers, we are suspecting that the bus drivers are the ones that are informing the custom officers. So they will come there and collect their dried fishes from them. So it is not so nice. So if you don't want to go through such situation, I will advise you, it's just a matter of information. Just inform them, send them a letter, an official letter, that you are doing such a thing. It's called Anzeige. But it does not mean that you must pay tax. It does not mean that they will come to you, but it is known at the finance office that such a thing is going on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So just the final one, just a quick one before we go, because we have about 2 minutes to go. This is a selfish question because I'm asking from a legal perspective, because I myself am a lawyer. I work here in Germany. I'm just going to ask you, what has been your experience in terms of the challenges? Because for so many lawyers who have come to Germany, who have studied and maybe been able to transition into some kind of role, either legal or non-legal, like, is it worth it to think about, studying to write the first or the second SHAT exam to be qualified in Germany? What's the experience like? What is a word of wisdom for us? Thank you.
Yeah, that one is a difficult issue, because in Germany, if you want to practice law in Germany, you have to do first and second state exam. So this examination, Germans will tell you they are the most difficult examination ever in this country. So because first of all, you have to know German laws. And if you don't know German laws, it will be difficult for you to write such an examination. And most of the examination that we wrote, you have 8 sittings, each time 5 hours. So where engineers are writing 2 pages, we are writing 80 pages in one examination. So when you finish, your hands will be paining you. So if you are coming as a legal practitioner from Nigeria to come and practice in Germany, it is very, very difficult. You can only make it if you have the stress and the courage and the time to go back again to the university. In the first place, the German language will hammer you, because you have to learn the German language first of all before you can go into such difficult issues. But we have situations like if you are a legal practitioner from the UK and you decide to come to Germany, you only have to get in contact with our lawyers association. They will tell you what to do. And if you succeed, you now have a chamber here. You are obliged to write at the front of your chamber, only practice British laws. So that anybody who is coming to you knows already that you're only allowed to practice British laws. You're not allowed to practice German laws in Germany unless you have done first and second state examination. So as I said before, every German lawyer has a qualification to be a judge. If you don't have the qualification, you're not allowed to be a lawyer, you're not allowed to be a state lawyer, you're not allowed to be a judge. So in the UK, for instance, where you have solicitors and barristers, and there's another one again, they call it all these and judges, all these people, they are one person in Germany. So me as a lawyer, I can be a judge tomorrow, I can be a state lawyer. So it is differentiated in many, many countries in the world, but in Germany it's not differentiated. So everybody studied the same thing and right at the end, the same examination. So if you pass there, then you have the qualification to be a judge. That is the condition to be a lawyer in Germany. So I hope I've been able to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emasi. To everyone, we want to thank you so much for your time, for listening to us. We hope that you have learned a lot, and for the questions we're not able to take, perhaps we are able to compile this and we're able to send this to you, Mr. Emasi. I hope you'll be able to indulge us. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.
And then anybody who wants to contact me can equally write me an email. No, and then I will answer their. I'm trying to write my email address here, which I think you have too. And then I will answer their questions. Or they can equally go to my. Oh no, I'm not right. I'm not sending it to Kenneth Bandy. I'm sending it to my people here, and then they can equally visit my website. I have 2 websites. One is in English, the other one is in German. Legal assistance. .de, and www.immasi.de. There you get all the information you need, and then you can get in contact with me. Please, gentlemen, avoid the issue sending me a voicemail on my WhatsApp. I cannot listen to voicemail. I'm sorry. I don't have time to listen to voicemail. You can write me, or you write me, I will respond. Thanks a lot for having me on the program. It is always a pleasure. Anytime you people have issues, you can always contact me. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. That was a very educating session. And thank you so much, Attorney Iyare. And thank you so much, our moderator, Chuka, Mr. Chuka Ikele.